All right, well, I suppose here we are. We're in Tiritiri Matangi Island. Got a beautiful view out to the ocean behind us. Unfortunately, the camera is just focused on us instead, but I'll put some video in the background for people to see the view that we see, I guess. Yeah. So, Andrew,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've been on Tiritiri for one day yesterday and we stayed the night. And how's that been for you?
It's been such a good experience being here.
Yeah.
I'm a bird lover, and this is a place for bird lovers. Like, it has all the best birds here. It's got my favourite, the kōkako,
Yep.
and so many other birds that I love.
Awesome. Yeah. Every time I come here, it's just been an incredible experience. There's just so much bird song, like so much more than anywhere else that I've been to. So
Yeah, we got up for
cool.
the dawn chorus this morning, and that's an incredible experience. And anyone who comes here has to stay the night, I reckon, and experience the dawn chorus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been here maybe 3 or 4 other times, but I've never stayed the night. And there's so many things that I've missed those previous times. Like, just seen so many more things. So yeah, it's cool.
And it's been a great time being here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a great time. That's probably been a highlight, is actually having someone to share the experience with. So yeah. Should we list off what birds we've seen? We'll go through a bit of a of a list. So obviously kōkako, we saw quite a few of them. How many did we see? Been counting.
I think we've seen 16 unique kōkako now.
Yeah. And how do we know that they're unique? What's the...
There's a few ways we can tell. You can see the bands on their legs, and they have unique colours for each bird. And kōkako are also quite territorial, and so you can pretty much guarantee that in a certain area it'll be a different kōkako.
Yeah, because we probably saw one pair twice because we walked through the same territory again and we saw them again, so we knew that they were the same ones.
Yeah, and that's right. So we didn't recount those ones. Yeah,
it's been pretty cool. That's probably one of the highlights, those birds, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, they're my favourite. I love their sound, and I'm obsessed with sound from birds.
Yeah. We'll talk about that near the end, I think, about your audio adventures.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite cool to learn about. What else have we seen? I think one of the other highlights for me was probably the fern birds. We've seen quite a few of those. That was quite cool.
That's really cool. I've never seen one before, and it's awesome to first hear them and then see them for the first time. Yeah,
it's quite interesting because, I mean, usually they're seen as like a wetland species, but we've been seeing them not just in the wetlands really. And then that's kind of been the same with the spotless crake that we keep hearing but not seeing.
Yeah.
They're kind of all over the place, not just in the low valleys, but I've heard them, haven't seen them in other areas as well. So
yeah, we've been saying they're probably called spotless crake for a reason, because you don't spot them.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to stay that way. Yeah, so what's your favourite moment so far on Tiritiri? Best experience?
I'd say just the number of kōkako that we've come across. Every time I see them, I get so excited. Yeah. And I'm sure if we see more later on, I'll get excited again. And I'll continue getting excited every time I see them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been a bit of a challenge for us, isn't it, to try see how many kōkako we can find. Yeah. For me, it was probably probably filming the rifleman.
Oh, true.
Yeah, because I mean, I've never managed to get just a photograph of them, but I got a really cool bit of video footage where I was kind of like I saw the rifleman, and then I decided, because it's kind of gleaning up it was going up some supplejack, I think it was, gleaning its way up. So I kind of was like, okay, they're there. So I focused above where they were going to be, and then just waited for them to kind of come into frame. So that was really cool, and I'll put that on the screen for those of you that are watching. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight.
Oh, that's awesome. They're so hard to capture in video and photos. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, they move so quickly. So Yeah.
And this is the place to do it, because
Yeah.
there was so many
There
riflemen.
was, yeah. I mean, the first, but there was just a pair of them, I think, a male and a female, gleaning up that area. I only got the female, but then we got a little bit further down the track, didn't we? And there was probably like at least 6 of them all just kind of jumping through the trees above us, and that was quite cool.
That was so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's probably been the highlight for me. Is, I mean, not just the rifleman, but being able to just spend more time to actually capture these moments, because we're not rushing to get as much done in the couple of hours that you have before having to hop back on the ferry.
Yeah.
If you're doing that
exactly.
day trip, that's all we've got. But we were able to stay out later, and yeah, I mean, that was another thing, wasn't it?
That was
got to
another
stay out
experience. We went for a night walk, and it wasn't raining too badly at first, but over the night it started to get worse and worse.
Yep.
And I think that must have put off some of the animals coming out,
Yeah.
like tuatara, the penguins and kiwi. But we did spot a kiwi.
Yep. We did.
That was
Yeah.
very cool. We only saw it for a split second,
Very
I think,
briefly.
and
Yeah.
then went
Kind of
back
running
into
along the
bush.
road, and then
Yeah.
scudded off into the
But
bush.
that was very cool. Everyone was jealous of that. They didn't see a kiwi. Yeah, that was also an awesome experience.
Yeah. Very cool. I suppose that's a bit of a sad moment that we didn't get to see the tuatara, though. I mean, we've still got some time today. We might get to see a tuatara or two, but not yet. So fingers crossed for that. Yeah. I suppose that rain's been a bit of a hassle as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but our shoes are pretty wet.
Yeah.
It's from all the grass and all the mud.
Yeah, about halfway through yesterday, I kind of just had to accept that I'm going to have permanently damp feet for this whole trip. And luckily it kind of warms up, but as you're walking through the long grass that's wet, it kind of pulls out the warm water from your socks and replaces it with more cold water. It's not a good feeling, but
No,
yeah, I mean, it's worth it for everything that we're seeing and experiencing. So
no, definitely.
yeah.
And so many more birds we've seen, like as we're speaking as well. You might hear them, you might not.
Yeah.
We've been hearing saddlebacks, stitch birds, whiteheads.
Yeah.
I think I'm hearing a grey warbler right now.
Yeah. It's so cool that just the amount of bird song that there is here, and
it's constant as well.
it is constant.
Like when I was going to bed last night, I swear I could still hear whiteheads.
Yeah.
But it was just like ringing in my ears. There's so many here. It's
Oh,
crazy.
that's funny. Yeah, there is a lot. We were talking about that. We were wondering what is probably the most abundant bird on this island, and it'd be a bit of a competition between the whiteheads and the bellbirds, wouldn't it?
Bellbirds, yeah.
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 Yeah. I would probably guess whiteheads there's more of, but
Yeah, you're saying.
yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Or have someone that's working on this island to tell us.
Yeah.
I suppose that's a bit of a recap of what we've done on the island. So we probably should do a bit of an introduction to who you are as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Sounds good.
do you want to give a bit of an introduction?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Simmons, and I'm a bit of a conservationist. And I started really exploring conservation last year when I studied at Tui Ohamai in Tauranga. And I did the conservation operations course there, and that was such an awesome course, eh?
Yeah, it sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got to do so much like outdoor work, which is what I was really wanting out of it.
Yeah.
Because before I did that, I was working in IT, and I'd worked at the University of Waikato for a while after studying, and that was after I got my computer science degree. And I think I realised I didn't really enjoy the whole office work life.
Yeah, you took a big U-turn with that one, didn't you?
I sure
Went straight
did, I
From
sure
office
did.
work out into the field.
I needed to get outdoors more, I think.
Yeah.
And so I went hiking and exploring the outdoors, and I got really interested in birds.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was like we went on a few adventures together, and I started to get really interested in it through you.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that you've also become a bit of a ecologist.
Yeah. It's
And,
quite cool that we've kind of converged on the same
Yeah.
track, because what the listeners won't know is that we've actually been friends for probably 14 or 15 years, and we never knew that we both had this latent kind of love for nature, kind of hiding within ourselves. But now we've kind of opened out to who we want to be in life, and happens to be in the same area. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and so I've definitely found my place, you know.
Yeah.
And it feels fantastic. And I know this is what I want to do, because you know, you can hear it in our voices as well, the passion for nature.
Yeah.
How much we've enjoyed Tiritiri Matangi and everything else we do as well outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so part of that course that I was doing last year was some volunteering, and one of the volunteering opportunities we had was to go to Aotea Great Barrier Island and volunteer at Glenfern Sanctuary. And that's such an awesome place, eh? It's predator fence. So the peninsula that it's on, Kotuku Peninsula, is has a predator-proof fence blocking it off, and it's not predator-free. So there's a lot of work to do there in terms of predator control, and that was a major part of our volunteering there. And so a few months later after that, because that was 2 weeks, I think, in August last year, and I went back. Most of the class did, but I couldn't at the same time, I think in September. So I went back on my own. I volunteered for another 2 weeks, and I got really interested in the place, like even more than the first time I was there. And I asked if I could get a job there, and I got a job there this year, which was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just a 6-month internship. It was meant to last 3 months, but I loved the place so much I had to stay on a bit longer, and it was an awesome experience. And
that's so cool. So you just reached out and said, hey, have you got some sort of work that I can... Yeah. Doesn't hurt to ask, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah. So to get to know you a little bit more, I've got a question here of what kind of person are you on a bushwalk? And I've got a few options here for you to choose from. So the first is the hare, and you want to get to the end of the track as quickly as you can. The next one is the botanist, stopping to identify and appreciate all the plants around the place. Yeah, it's me. Tarzan, on the lookout for a great tree to climb.
Oh.
The bird watcher, where you're staring at the canopy until you spot the source of an unusual squawk. Or the forager, out to connect with nature and forgot to pack a lunch.
100% bird watcher.
Yeah.
Love birds so much, and that's bird sound is something I'm obsessed with, eh? And over time I've just learned all the different sounds.
Yeah.
And it kind of started off just by like listening to all these like unique different sounds, and over time you'd like can pick up the differences between all of them. And then eventually I learned by finding the bird in the bush what sound was associated with all the different birds. Yeah.
Cool. You were mentioning to me that it's not so much just the kind of the pattern or the melody that you notice, but also kind of like the voice itself, like you're kind of recognizing the voice box of that species, and you can identify it even if it's making a strange song.
Exactly. Like eventually after listening to them for so long, you learn more like the sound of their voice box rather than the different sounds they make. And so I remember one time I had learned the sound of a tieke, saddleback, and I remember going into the bush one day and hearing it's quite a different sound, but I just knew it was a saddleback even though it was quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's it. I mean, that'll be a useful skill to have. So
Yeah.
I suppose that's something that just kind of comes with spending so much time in nature, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Well, the next question I got here is, so this is probably a obvious one. Do you prefer plants or animals in nature?
Birds. Animals.
Birds. Animals. Yep. All right. So birds it is. What species of bird is your favourite? I think you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what I was expecting.
The kia.
So you mentioned earlier that kokaku was your favourite.
It's my favourite sound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right, so favourite sound is kokako, but
Yeah.
favourite bird is kea.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Why is it a kea then?
They're just amazing birds, eh?
Yeah.
They're cheeky and smart and playful. I think that's the thing I like the most about them, is that they're playful. I remember one day I learned that some kea will climb up onto a roof and ski down, like if there's snow on the roof.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
when people are observing them, they're like, oh, that was just a way to get from A to B. But then they would fly back and keep doing it over and over again, and that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool when you see animals just doing things for the sake of doing it. Like, it doesn't seem like it's doing it to get food or to reproduce or anything like that. Like, that's usually what we apply to animals. We just think, hey, they're just there to survive and pass on their genes to the next generation. But
Yeah,
there's so many species out there that just do things what seems like for fun. And yeah, definitely kea is probably way up there with the top ones that do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure so many birds are the same as well. They do a lot just for fun, not just for survival and breeding. I think kaka as well, like you see them flying around and they're not going anywhere, they're just kind of flying around in circles and calling out to their mates. They're awesome too.
Yeah.
There's heaps at Glenfern, I love it.
Yeah, I understand that you've had quite a bit of a run-in with a few kakas on Glenfern Island.
Yeah.
And you've learnt that they're probably also quite cheeky as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're certainly quite cheeky.
Yeah.
And very friendly as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always seeing photos of people that are getting like really close up with kaka, specifically on Great Barrier Island. So yeah. Do you have any idea why they're so friendly on Great Barrier? Are people feeding them or?
I mean, it's possible that people are feeding them.
Yeah.
Especially those ones you see on Facebook and they're like really up close. So I hope if anyone's feeding them that they're doing it responsibly and cleaning the feeders or or if it's just like fresh fruit or something.
Cool. So we're both from Tauranga.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite place in Tauranga, like a nature reserve or
Taniwanuku.
Taniwanuku?
It's a pretty awesome place. It's a remnant bush.
Yeah.
I think it's about 1,200 hectares, or at least that's what's predator controlled. And they have my favourite bird sound there, kokako.
Yeah.
And the trust there does a great job of looking after the place. Track clearing and predator control is going very well there.
Cool. Yeah, are there quite a few kokako there?
And there's quite a few. There's a survey being done at the moment, actually, a census.
Yeah.
And so I think the previous census, something along the lines of, it was 60 pairs.
Wow.
Or 60 to 70 pairs. And I've actually made a prediction. I think there will be close to 100 pairs and possibly 200 kokako.
Wow, coming from this census that's happening at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll find out in, I think, a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we talk a bit more about why you made this change of career path, like from IT into nature? So I did notice that over the past few years, because you only finished working in IT maybe 2 years ago, wasn't it?
And I think it was 2022. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did notice that for a few years while you were still doing that job, that you were kind of almost weekly. I'd see like a photo of you on Instagram, like out on a nice great walk somewhere, and yeah, I mean, could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So one day I went for a walk up Mount Parongia, and on the way up I realised just how like good it made me feel going for this walk up a mountain, nice views, and just the exercise itself as well. It made me feel so good. And when I got to the top, I wanted to do more of that. I think I got to the top and I'm like, I'm going to do more of this. So I set a challenge to climb as many mountains or summits as possible during that time.
Cool.
And and I'd take a photo at the top too. I'd take a selfie, and just to show like, yeah, this is me and this is what I like doing now.
Yeah.
And I kept at it, and I think that's how I fell in love with nature, because of how good it made me feel, and that's why I wanted to get a job in nature, and that eventually led me into conservation, because I went searching online and found what sort of like jobs you can do in nature, and then I found this course in Tauranga, the conservation operations course that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. So, and now you did that for 1 year, the study at Toyohomai.
Yes, last year.
And then you went straight into working full-time not full-time, wasn't it?
It was just part-time.
Part-time at Great Barrier Island. So
Yeah.
let's talk a bit about Great Barrier then. So I guess first of all, where were you staying on Great Barrier Island?
So I was staying and working at Glenfern Sanctuary, and so when I was staying there, I stayed in a caravan, and it was actually a pretty sweet setup. There was an outdoor shelter, a full oven, all the amenities I needed there, and it was actually pretty cozy.
Yeah, cool. And you mentioned that while you were out there, it kind of helped you, like you've kind of got a bit of a change of philosophy about life after working so long on the islands. It's what we've been talking about for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So could you talk about that, how your life has kind of got a new perspective on things?
Yeah, so while I was out there, it was a little bit lonely at times. I think mainly because, like, I think I isolated myself a bit. There were people around, but I was living alone in the caravan essentially, and it made me realize like you need people around you. People are very good to have in your life, and that's how you make things happen with other people, I think.
Yeah.
And, another thing is that out there it was so relaxing and so calm away from city life, and it made me realize that you don't really need a lot in life to be happy.
Yeah.
Like I just had the basics there, and I still got by, and we did have internet and everything. We weren't hermits out there, but we were off grid, and so it made me realise that you don't need a lot in life.
Yeah, because there's a bit of a township on Great Barrier, isn't there? But Glenfern's kind of a little bit out of the way a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, Glenfern's it's all the way out, kind of northwest end of the island, but the main townships are towards the south.
Yeah.
But there's a little community around there. Over the hill from Glenfern is Okiwi,
Right.
and they would host what they called neighbours' nights, and they would provide food for a koha donation. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. But were you the only one living within the confines of Glenfern Sanctuary, or was there...
So the managers lived in a cottage there as well.
Right.
And there's also accommodation available at Glenfern as well.
Oh, cool.
Which is, I think, pretty unique. It's accommodation inside a fenced sanctuary.
Interesting.
And so I would come across a lot of people either staying at the accommodation or coming for the loop walk that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there would be kind of some similar experiences to what we've been having here on Tiritiri.
Yeah.
Being able to stay the night and enjoy the wildlife.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. Highly recommend it, because you get the dawn chorus, which is mainly just kaka actually at Glenfern.
Yeah.
And I do miss that sound quite a lot. I remember the few mornings after I came back, I thought I heard kaka, but it wasn't. And then, realised that they weren't around and missed them.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's the one thing that we haven't seen or heard here, I don't think. We may have heard one on Tiritiri.
Yeah.
But we weren't sure.
So.
Yeah. So you mentioned about kind of feeling a little bit isolated and alone at Glenfern.
Mm.
You did happen to make some friends along the way that perhaps weren't humans, but could you talk about any of those?
So there's two actually. In summer, early on, there was this pāteke that would visit me at the caravan, and pāteke are they're a night duck. They like to come out at night, nocturnal. And so it would be at night time when I'm cooking my dinner, and I think it must have been able to smell my dinner or something. I was quite keen for a feed, but I did avoid feeding it. But I must have accidentally dropped some crumbs or something for it, and I would see it kind of like dabbling around on the ground outside the caravan. And same thing with the banded rail friend that I made there as well.
Yeah.
It would come along, and I'm pretty sure it was just eating the crumbs that I must have dropped, and it was so friendly. Like banded rail are usually really skittish.
Yeah.
So if you come like within maybe even like 10 meters of them, they're off, they're gone. And most places they're very hard to spot, but around Port Fitzroy, which is where Glenfern is, they're not so much like that.
Right.
And so you can get up pretty close, and one day some people from a cruise came over, and they were all bird watchers as well. So they had their big fancy cameras, and basically we told them just go up by the chicken coop, and you'll easily get a photo of a banded rail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. And did you have it? You had a bit of an idea of why this one particularly was so friendly to you? I think you mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was about?
I think I told you that it might have been one that stayed in the aviary, but I did ask, and it shouldn't have been.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I think it just got comfortable around humans somehow. Like they must have associated us with just food. And yeah, one day Steve, the operations manager there, was moving my water tank, and there were lots of grubs underneath it, and the banded rail was just hanging out around Steve and eating the grubs as he was moving this tank. And
I suppose that makes sense. It's kind of hanging out around the rangers that are doing the physical work, and that's going to be disturbing the bugs around the area.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I've been noticing on Tiritiri, how many of the birds just hang out on the ground and they're not really scared of humans.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just a thing that must just occur when there's no kind of pest mammals around to threaten them. They just happy as to do whatever. And that, I could imagine that's what birds were like here before any sort of disturbance from humans all those hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been an incredible experience.
I would have loved to experience that, eh?
Yeah.
If only we could go back in time and just experience the wildlife that was here.
Yeah, there's so many more that are missing now that we'll never get to see, but I suppose we can only enjoy what we've still got. So yeah. So last week I asked you if you had any questions that I should ask you about being on working at Glenfern, and you said to me, ask about seabirds. That's all that you gave me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the story is going to be. So I suppose I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So this will be a new story for you, which is always nice on a podcast as well, learning something new from someone.
Yeah.
And so Aotea is a place where seabirds go to breed. Mainly black petrel or daikor, and cooked petrels. And so I've got two stories here actually. One is there was a volunteer that we had, and they came from Germany. They sailed all the way over, and one day they just appeared, and they're like, "Can I volunteer?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, keen. Always keen for volunteers over there." And so he had been helping us out for a while, and my main job there was rat trapping, and so he helped me with that, and it meant I had time later for other things like track clearing and helping with the building site that's there as well. And him and I, the volunteer and I, went up Mount Hobson at night time, And that itself is such a cool experience, just going out for a night walk, seeing the stars. The stars are amazing out there. And we brought dinner with us and had dinner at the summit. And as the sun was setting, the seabirds were coming in, and we were sitting on this platform, had just finished dinner, and this black petrel like comes out of nowhere, and it starts hobbling along the platform we were sitting on, and it reached out its wings, and it spread its wings out and just like flew off into the distance, and that was so awesome.
Cool.
Into the sunset. But the thing is, seabirds are actually coming in at night time. So I think what had happened with that black petrel is it landed in the wrong spot, and it took off again to go to its proper spot.
Yeah.
But it was just spectacular.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Seeing this big black petrel open its wings and start flying, and that was the first time I had seen one as well. And I wish I could have captured it on video, but it's in my mind. And, and
sometimes that's better, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just an incredible memory I have now.
Yeah.
And on our way down, it was dark at this point. We were hearing all the seabirds coming in. Pretty sure it was all black petrels around there. There's probably Cook's petrels around there as well, but I think it's mainly black petrel around the top of Mount Hobson. And so I was hearing them out in the bush, and some of them make some pretty odd sounds. I think I recorded a few of them on my phone.
Yeah.
And along the path we had come across some more black petrels, and they really weren't bothered as well. Like, we were just easily able to walk past them and observe them, and it was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I remember along the way, actually, we're here on Tiritiri Matangi, and there's a lighthouse, and so from up there you can actually see the lighthouse flashing, and that was a really cool view across to this island as well.
Yeah.
And along the road as well, when we were driving back, we saw a black petrel, and when we saw it, we like slowed down instantly just in case it was going to walk out in front of us. And
that's cool. So when you the first experience with the black petrel, how long had you been on Great Barrier before you saw that one?
So I think that was in March. So I think two or 3 months.
Yeah. And that was the first one you saw, and then you've had these other experiences after it, seeing more of them.
Yeah. Oh, that was all the same day.
Oh, that was all the same day.
Yeah,
oh,
so
wow.
on the same day, I just like saw so many.
Incredible.
It's like the third bird here. It's like I've never heard or seen one, and now we've just seen so many. So.
Yeah. I think saw 2 or 3, but definitely 4 total heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second story as well. It was the day before I left for a bit of a break from the island after 3 months. A seabird inspector came to the island from Auckland Council, and I was invited to come out with them, and I was so excited for this. I went out with them and Christine, one of the managers at Glenfern as well. We went out with Maida was her name. And so we're going out to inspect these black petrel burrows. And so the first one we came across, I think there was a failed egg. And that's pretty sad, but that happens.
Yeah.
And I think the next one was empty. We hadn't seen anything in it. But the third one we came across had a black petrel chick. And so a part of the inspections is to pull the chicks out and band them, and I think do a blood test as well. And this black petrel was so deep in the burrow, Maida with her long arms struggled to reach it, and so it was a struggle to get it out, but we got it out eventually. And I was asked to hold the bag that we put it in to weigh it. I think it's much like the kiwi as well, how
Yeah.
they weigh kiwi. And it was so cool to just have this black petrel in my arms,
Yeah.
and it was just so cool.
Cool. Do you know why they take the blood? Is it like a DNA thing to sex them, or is it?
I don't know actually. I think maybe testing for diseases as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think you actually mentioned something to me about penguins living underneath a building.
Oh, yes.
I heard you saying that during this trip.
Yeah, so when I came back after my break, I got to stay in the house for a while there was some construction going on near the caravan. And whenever I went to sleep at night, I heard some strange noises under the house. And so it turned out to be, I think it was a little penguin nesting. And they make such strange noises. Like that's
They
why
sound
I
quite
couldn't figure it
spooky.
out. They're pretty spooky, yeah. And we heard some last night too.
Yeah.
And now I know what they sound like, but yeah, it was pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Was it just a single pair that was nesting under there, or?
Yeah.
That you know of,
just
yeah.
a single pair. Yeah.
Cool.
But that's hilarious though that they chose this location to nest
Yeah.
under a house.
Yeah. How cool. How far inland was that house? Was it?
It's probably like 200 meters from the shore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What was your actual role on Glenfern? We haven't actually gone into that yet. So what were you doing, and what was some of the everyday tasks that you got up to?
So I was a ranger. I was working as a ranger, and my main job was the rat trapping there. They have a network of around 1,660 traps, and so they're placed in a 100 by 50 meter grid over 240 hectares.
Yeah.
And so every month we had to check every single trap, so all 1,660.
Wow.
We also had what we called buffer traps. So they were put along the coast and near the fence as well, and around the houses. And so that was to prevent any rats, like even getting close to the fence, and inside the fence where people dwell, which is where a lot of rats like to go. And yeah, and the buffer traps we checked every 1 or 2 weeks, because that's where rats frequently visit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was my main job. During this summer, there was a huge explosion of rats around the island.
Yeah.
And everyone saw it there, and so we were a bit worried that the rat numbers were going up and that trapping wasn't enough. But it was just the fact that it was some sort of mast season.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And was there any sort of progress that you saw with rat numbers, or?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a GIS system at Glenfern, and we use that to track all the data that we got from checking the traps. So if a trap was empty, we would record that trap as empty, and if it had caught something, we would record it as having caught something, which is a rat.
Yeah.
And so that gave us numbers of rats and numbers of checks, so we're able to get percentage of rats across the peninsula. And so we saw numbers increasing, and so we got worried.
Yeah.
But over time it did start decreasing, and when you're out there so much, you can kind of tell how many rats are out there.
How many rats did you catch?
So this is going to sound like a lot, but it was 864 rats that I caught while I was there.
Yeah.
And it's really a lot, and it's not like that every year. Like I said, like the mast season that had just happened just caused so many rats to be around. Like even with the predator-proof fence, they can get around it by swimming. unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the peninsula is just slightly too close to an island nearby, and the across the bays as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaikoura Island is the island that's nearby, and yeah, I think
Right.
we get rats coming over from there.
Oh, so that needs to be eradicated as well then,
Yeah,
to help reduce numbers of that.
that would help a lot actually.
Yeah.
I hope someone can make that happen, and that
Yeah.
would help out Glenfern a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess some other sort of solution needs to be come up for the bay problem coming across from the other headland, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We've got this other smaller fence, but we can't put a fence all the way around the peninsula. So at some point it cuts off, and then rats can just swim around that.
Yeah.
And the buffer traps help a bit as well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so 864, that was the number.
Yeah.
Do you know what numbers there were previous years? Like what was like a general idea of what it is usually expected to be? Or
So I think when I was there, overall the sanctuary had caught, I think, just over 1,000 rats. And so 864 is what I personally caught.
Yeah.
And previous years it would have been less than 1,000 for the whole year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did your part then, maintaining the nature in that sanctuary then.
Yes.
Cool. So that was kind of your main sort of work, wasn't it? The rat control.
Yeah.
Was it just rats, or was there other mammals in there? Or?
So there's cat predator control as well, but that was managed by the sanctuary operations manager there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So rats and cats.
Rats and cats.
You'd hope that the cats would be doing their part in catching the rats.
Yeah. Well, we actually captured a video of a cat playing with a rat.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we've got some trail cameras around the sanctuary, and we pick up activity from cats mainly.
Yeah.
And we've got a thermal camera there as well that Steve had just set up, and we got some footage of a rat there as well, and so we set up a trap just near where the rat was playing around. I'm pretty sure he caught it.
Nice. That's good.
It's pretty satisfying when you can identify where rats are, set up a trap, and then catch them.
Yeah.
Which we had actually done through an RTI we had performed, which is a rat trapping index. And so there was this location we saw kind of a hot spot for rats, and so we decided to put some traps out there. And so the just before night time, when I was putting the traps out, I saw 2 rats running in the field. And then the next day when I checked them, we had caught 2 rats.
Nice.
Yeah, it was.
So hopefully it was those 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then later on, there were a few that appeared, but eventually that area didn't show any signs of rats, which was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so with the camera traps, are they just for identifying mammals, or have you got some that are watching other species? Or
Yeah, they're just for monitoring cats.
so you weren't just doing mammal trapping, there was some other bits of work that you did here and there. Could you talk about some of that?
Yeah, so I did a bit of planting while I was over there, and so I helped out Kate Waterhouse, and they have their own private property where they're doing a bit of planting. So I did a bit there, and I think we planted close to 1,000 plants in a weekend.
Cool.
So that was really good progress. I think there was 5 or 6 of us doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
some
was
hard work.
That was some hard work, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, I bet. And I bet going back there in a few years' time to see how much it's grown as well will be quite.
That'd be awesome, eh?
amazing.
I've done a bit of planting here and there, some in Tauranga as well at the Pendergrass Memorial Heritage Park, and I totally plan on going to these places in 10, 20 years and seeing how it's progressed.
Yeah.
And there's another place on Great Barrier as well, the Medlands wetland. It used to be farmland, or I think it might still be used a little bit for farms. and it used to be a wetland, and it's this massive area. I'm not sure how many hectares it is, but it must be maybe close to maybe between 50 and 100 hectares. And so they're converting that into a wetland.
Cool.
And so I helped out a bit there, did a bit of planting, and it's such great work that they're doing there. It's such a massive area to regenerate again, and I think it's an awesome project that's going on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the best to keep places that are kind of low down and mucky and muddy and swampy for cows to be grazing in, so
yeah, exactly.
May as well turn it back to what it was meant to be in the first place. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to share about Great Barrier Island before we start to wrap up?
The final thing I think I'll say is it's such an amazing place to go. I highly recommend people go there if they can. The people there are amazing, like super friendly and always keen to teach you new things and help out when they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be the case with like those smaller communities, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's everyone just gets along, and I think I prefer to be in a smaller community. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So before we do conclude this podcast, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your kind of project that you've been working on over the past few months.
Yeah.
So you're wanting to start recording bird sounds, so bird calls and bird songs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So as I've said, I've gotten this like obsession almost for bird sounds and bird song, and one day I was thinking I should record it. I'm interested in this stuff, so I wanna actually like document it and record it and provide sounds for everyone to hear. And so I'm working on a website at the moment where I'm gonna share all my sounds that I'm recording, and I've bought some gear, relatively expensive, to record the highest quality sounds that I possibly can, and I'm excited to get into this hobby and share it all with everyone.
Cool. Awesome. And what's the microphone that you've bought? What's that?
It's a Rode NTG5.
Cool. And that's a shotgun mic, isn't it?
Yeah, shotgun microphone.
Yeah.
So it's got some directionality to it.
Yeah.
So to the sides, the sound is reduced, and most of the sound comes from the front.
Yeah.
There are microphones that are better for directionality. They're called parabolic microphones, but they're really bulky, really expensive, and like especially the bulky part, I'm going to be going into the middle of the bush.
Not ideal.
It's
yeah.
pretty difficult to bring with you. So
yeah.
I think
Especially if you're slipping over and.
Yeah, exactly. And this microphone's perfect for it. It's lightweight, so I can chuck it in a pack really easily. And
yeah.
It's a good setup, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been quite cool seeing you using it over the past 2 days, just being able to kind of fit it into this tiny little bag that you just kind of strap onto yourself and then. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I've got it all like packed in a camera bag actually at the moment, but I think I might get a more specific setup soon.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've been properly recording birdsong.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun.
It is, yeah.
I tried on Great Barrier Island, but there was a lot of delays with receiving equipment and stuff.
Mm.
No. But I'm really glad I've finally got it all and can start recording.
Yeah. I mean, we already listened to some last night after you recorded some audio yesterday, and it sounds great. It sounds really cool.
Sounds really like crisp and clear.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and there was one scenario where you were recording the Whiteheads, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then I started filming it at the same time, and we were talking about trying to line up the audio with my camera's video.
Yeah, we should see if we can include that in the footage here.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that all together before this comes out. And
before I head off to Europe as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. But,
yeah.
But then I'll be excited to come back and work more in conservation.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the future.
Europe's going to be cool. Are you going to
Yeah.
Are you going to take the microphone with you there?
No, I don't think so. No.
I mean, there'll be lots of cool birds, but
Yeah, there will be. I'm actually excited about that as well, seeing
Yeah.
the different birds that are over there.
Yeah.
And one more thing about the bird recordings. Eventually, I want to create some artificial intelligence models
Yeah.
to be able to detect bird sounds, so detect the species that a microphone is picking up.
Yeah.
And so that will probably be included on the website at some point.
Cool.
Probably far down the future, because you need a lot of recordings and
Yeah, to train the AI.
to train the AI.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that I've gotten from the computer science degree that I studied for.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool, being able to kind of tie your different kind of areas of expertise into one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of what I'm excited about with this, is that I'm tying together my love for nature, but also I used to be like a photographer and videographer. I did it for weddings and whatnot, but
Yeah,
that wasn't as much fun. But
yeah,
being able to kind of tie it in with something that I'm actually obsessed with,
yeah.
that's cool.
That's so cool. It's so cool to be able to combine like all these like passions together, all these skills that we have, and we can really provide a lot for conservation in New Zealand.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. Well, this is probably a good place to round out the whole interview.
Yeah.
So thank you for jumping on with me. I know this is probably a new experience for you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I mean, it's kind of also a new experience for me. I've only done one interview so far. This is the second one. So yeah, it's been fun. And
yeah, you've been talking about this for a while, and
I have.
I'm so excited that you've got it started now, and actually like rolling out these podcasts, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting so many cool new people, and and
I'm
interviewing you again in the future. So
I'm so happy to be a part of it as well. Like, I feel like this is going to build a bit of a community actually around New Zealand, and so that's really exciting as well.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. I mean, I look forward to seeing what you do in the future, and
yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
I'll have to give everyone a progress update.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.